Hello and welcome. I'm Carrie of Firefly Community, here to take you through a 60-minute yin yoga practice. This practice I designed to be for recovery after hiking. However, you don't have to have gone for a hike to benefit from this practice. We'll do some poses that work with the overall body, and there are a few things that you need for this practice. In this practice in particular, it is going to be really great if you have a yoga bolster. So it's basically a long yoga pillow. If you do not have a bolster, you can get by with using some pillows, but I would recommend having a couple of pillows so that you could stack them. It's also great to have a couple of blocks if you have them, and a yoga strap just in case. There is one pose that we're going to do in which you'll reach back with your hand to grab your foot. If you think you might have some difficulty grabbing your foot, make sure you have a strap available. And I always like to have a blanket around just in case you need some padding for knees or for any compression in the knees or just to give a little extra cushioning if you need it. So without further ado, let's get started. We'll actually start on our backs in a pose called broken wing pose. And I'll also provide you with an extra little added bonus in this pose if you would like it. So for broken wing pose, you will start by laying down onto your back. Bring your left arm up by your ear so that it's out of your way. And then press into your right foot to roll over onto your left side. Take your right arm, bend your elbow, bring your hand behind your back so that your palm is facing out. Roll your shoulder blade down your back so that your shoulder blade is nice and integrated, and then lay down onto your back. Now you'll either have your legs straight out in front of you. You can rest your right arm, or left arm rather, anywhere that's comfortable for you. And then option to take a tree leg here by bringing your opposite leg, so in this case your left leg, sole of your foot into the inside of your right leg and then let your knee fall open. Your palm is now facing down into the mat and you are just laying down on your hand. The point of this pose is to stretch the front of your shoulder. You might feel this all the way down your arm. Now, if you are feeling like this is too much intensity, you can bring your hand down lower, or you can even bring your hand a little bit out from underneath you so that it's really just your fingers that are under your back. If you want more intensity in this pose, you roll back onto your left side, bring your right hand up higher on your back, and then again, roll your shoulder blade down your back, and then lay back down onto your back. And again, you might have that opposite leg in a tree position or just out straight, whatever feels best in your body. Your left hand can just rest wherever it feels comfortable. And keep your head relaxed down on the mat. Now, a couple of things can happen in this pose. Maybe you didn't get that shoulder blade quite integrated down your back, and you might feel like your shoulder blade is pressing a lot into the mat. That's one of the reasons why it's great to have a blanket around, because if it feels like your shoulder blade is really pokey into the mat, you could bring your blanket, and I wouldn't fold it up too much for this one. You could bring it underneath your shoulder blade to just make it a little more comfortable for you. But if you're comfortable without the blanket, you certainly don't have to use that. Now for this pose, we'll spend a total of 4 minutes on each side. And so we are halfway through this pose already. In any of the poses that we do, I want you to feel stretch, but never any sharp pain. So if you are in pain, please come out, make some adjustments, change things up, maybe use some props, such as the blanket, so that you are feeling sensation, stretch, but not sharp pain. The other thing that might happen in this pose is your hand that's underneath you might fall asleep. You might get that tingly sensation in your fingers. If that happens, roll to your left side, come out of the pose, wiggle your fingers around, get that fresh blood flow back, and then return once your fingers go back to normal. We don't want to ever cut off your circulation, so always just check in with that and make sure it still feels okay for you to stay for the entire hold. And again, you can always adjust the positioning of your hand as we hold in the pose based on how much sensation you want to feel. You're always in charge of your sensation. I always encourage you to notice your breathing in each of our yin poses. We do want the body and mind to be as relaxed as possible in that parasympathetic nervous system, so deepening and lengthening your breaths, particularly your exhales, will help you do that. So a couple more nice deep full breaths on this side. Maybe in through your nose, and either out through your nose or out through your mouth, whatever feels more relaxing for you. And then to come out of this pose, if you have your tree leg, you're going to slide that left foot back down. Press into your right foot to roll yourself just far enough to your left that you can get your hand out from underneath you. Now wiggle your fingers around. You might shake them out a little bit, rotate your wrist. And then we'll set up for the other side. So now your right arm comes up by your ear just so it's out of your way. Press into your left foot to roll yourself onto your side, and then bend your left elbow. Bring your hand behind your back so your palm is facing out. Now be really dramatic about this next part. Open the front of your shoulder, roll your shoulder blade down your back, and then lay down onto your hand so that the palm of your hand is down into your mat. I'm just going to check our time here. We have 4 minutes here. So again, make any adjustments that you need to be getting a stretch in the front of your shoulder, down your arm, but in a way that you're feeling sensation but not pain. If you did on the other side, you'll take your sole of your right foot into your inner left thigh and let your knee fall open for a tree leg. You can let your right hand rest wherever is comfortable. If you need to make any adjustments while you're here, you could roll back onto your side, move your hand higher up on your back, and or try to really integrate your shoulder blade down your back so that you're not getting any like poking sensation of your shoulder blade into your mat. If you want less sensation, you can bring your hand down a little bit lower on your back, and also you might bring your hand out a little bit out from underneath you so that it's more just your fingers that are under your back. So those are some adjustments that you can make to manage your sensation. Notice where you're feeling this pose the most. I'm hoping you're getting some stretch for the front of this left shoulder, but you might feel it in other areas as well. You might also be getting a stretch in your inner right leg with those tree legs. Let your head just relax into your mat. Reconnect to your breath. The reason that I include this pose in this series is if you have been hiking and you are carrying a backpack, you might be feeling a little tight in your shoulders. We are just past the halfway point on this side, so we have about 2 more minutes here. Since I told you a lot about this pose on the first side, I'll be mostly quiet for the second half of this side. Take about 3 more long, slow, deep, full breaths. Good. Now, if you have those tree legs, you can straighten that right leg out first. Roll yourself just far enough to your right side to get your left hand out from underneath you. Then find some movement in your fingers, roll your wrist, and then just let everything relax for a moment. I'll take a little break here before our next pose. So you can either have your legs out straight, or if your low back is feeling a little sensitive, bend your knees, plant your feet wide to the edges of your mat, and let your knees fall into each other. This is called constructive rest. Bend your knees, hug your knees into your chest, take a little rock side to side. And then with your hands behind your thighs, you could either rock the length of your spine a couple of times to come up, or you could roll to one side or the other, press yourself up. We're going to come back onto our backs for our next pose, but you will need something to support underneath your hips. So you can use for this either a bolster, a pillow, which you might fold in half, or a block works pretty well for this. So I'm going to use a block for this one. Grab whichever you're going to use, lower back down onto your back, bend your knees, plant your feet about hip width apart, and then press into your feet to bring your block or bolster or folded pillow underneath your sacrum. So you want this, especially if you're using a block, to be right underneath that triangular bone there at the back of your pelvis. So the block isn't pressing into your low back, it's just supporting underneath your hips. Now we are already in the pose. This is supported bridge pose. That said, we do want to make sure you're nice and supported by your shoulders. So I like to point my fingers up towards the ceiling, press into the upper arms, lift your shoulders up, draw them more towards each other, and then set back down. And then let your arms rest down by your sides. And you'll want to keep your gaze in this pose straight up towards the ceiling. So you're not moving your neck around at all. And also lengthen the back of your neck. So if you check in with your chin, if it feels like your chin is lifting a lot towards the ceiling, pull your chin back towards your throat to lengthen the back of your neck. You do still want to have space between your chin and your chest, but you want to have a nice long neck here, with your head resting on the mat, your gaze straight up at the ceiling. Now you're more than welcome to stay exactly as you are. This is supported bridge pose. This is where we want to be. However, if you want a different variation of this pose that also stretches the front of your hips, maybe gets into your hip flexors a little bit here, you could straighten your legs out in front of you, and I'm just going to have to move my bolster out of my way a little bit, and have just your heels down on the mat instead of your feet. This does make this a bit more of a back bend, so if it doesn't feel okay on your back, if it feels like too much, you'll bend your knees, keep your feet planted throughout the pose. If it feels okay for your back, you might just want that little extra bonus of getting a bit of a stretch here for the front of your hips. You might also feel it a bit in your thighs. A little bit of a stretch there. Focus on your breath. Feel your chest lift as you inhale. And drop back down as you exhale. This pose is also 4 minutes. So we are just over the halfway point. I'll let you know when it's time to make a change. Of course, that said, you can always adjust your positioning as you hold on the pose if you are feeling uncomfortable. hoping you're feeling some stretch, some sensation here, but are not in any pain. If you did happen to straighten your legs in this pose, for the last few breaths, bend your knees and plant your feet again. So come back to a little bit more ease in your low back by supporting the back bend with your feet. And so you come out of supported bridge pose, press into your feet, lift your hips off of whatever you were using underneath you. Move that off to the side. Lower your hips all the way back down to the floor. Bring your feet wide to the edges of your mat. Let your knees fall into each other for constructive rest. That pose was a back bend, so we come to constructive rest just to come to a neutral position of the spine before taking any big movements. Just want to keep the spine safe and healthy. If you need another breath or two here, please feel free to take it. Otherwise, hug your knees into your chest. You can take a little rock side to side, massage your low back. And then depending on what kind of surface you're on, you could either roll to one side or the other, or bring your hands behind your thighs and rock the length of your spine a few times to come all the way up through to seated. We'll set up next for deer pose, which is a stretch for the outer hips. So start with your right shin parallel to the top of the mat. So your right foot's over towards that left side of the mat. Left knee is bent just behind your right heel, or you can even bring it back a little bit further, just depending on what feels comfortable for you. I like to grab my thigh and kind of roll it out and get nice and rooted in that right sit bone. And then start to walk yourself forward either directly over your knee, and that's going to be a great option for those of us who are tighter in the hips. If you feel a little more open in your hips, you could walk yourself more forward over your shin. This is another place where having a blanket around might be nice to bring underneath your forearms, especially if you're folded more over your knee and maybe your arm ends up on the floor. Maybe your surface is hard like mine is here with the hardwood. And in this pose, relax your shoulders, relax your head. So if your head isn't able to come all the way down to your hands or your arms, you could use a bolster, a pillow, or a block to bring underneath your forehead so that you can relax your shoulders, relax your neck, and just settle into this pose. This pose is 4 minutes on each side. What I'm hoping you're feeling here is a stretch in your outer right hip. Now you might feel it some other places too. You might feel it in your inner leg, you might feel it in your low back because we're folded forward. You might also feel this a bit in your left leg. But I'm hoping you're getting some stretch in that outer right hip. Notice if you're holding tension in your shoulders, can you relax that? Soften your face and your jaw. You might close your eyes and take nice, deep, full breaths. want you to feel some stretch and sensation in this pose. So if you started out more folded over your knee, and as you're holding, you're not feeling as much stretch anymore, you might lift your torso up, bring yourself a little bit more over your shin, and then release back down. If you're still feeling enough stretch where you were, you can always stay exactly where you started. That's just an option for if you want a little more sensation. If the sensation isn't dissipating at all, it might mean that you went a little too far too fast and maybe you need to back out a little bit by going with your torso a bit more over your knee. If you are feeling any pressure or discomfort in your knee, flex your toes back towards your knee. That just gives some engagement in your ankle, helps protect your knee joint. We have about a minute left here. And then to come out of this pose, press into your hands, lift your torso. You can use your hands to help you bring both of your legs out in front of you. Plant your feet wide to the edges of your mat. You can lean back on either your hands or even your forearms, and slowly let your knees fall side to side. And you might notice as you do this, maybe your right hip now is feeling a bit more open than your left. And we are going to do the other side to help even that out. So as you come back to center with your knees, deer pose on the left, bring your left shin parallel to the top of your mat so that your left foot's over more towards the right side of your mat. Right knee is bent either just behind your left heel, or you can even bring it back a little bit. Might use your hands to kind of help roll your thigh back so that you're nice and rooted in your left sit bone. Your right sit bone may or may not be completely on the mat, and that's okay. And then you choose, how does this side feel? You can either walk directly over your knee or walk yourself forward over your shin. And this side might be different than your other side, so just test it out, see how it feels in your body. Maybe you need some cushioning underneath your forearms, or maybe you would like a pillow or bolster or even a block underneath your forehead. So set yourself up with whatever you need to be comfortable here for 4 minutes. If you're feeling pressure in your knee, flex your toes back towards your knee. Relax your shoulders. Notice if you're holding tension in your jaw. If so, you might open and close your mouth a few times and then leave your lips slightly parted, let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Notice where you're feeling this pose the most on this side. Hoping you're feeling stretch in your outer left hip. You might also feel stretch in your inner leg. You might also feel stretch in your low back, and also maybe a bit in your right leg. We are at the halfway point on this side, so if you started out a little bit more over the knee and you're not feeling as much stretch and sensation anymore and you want a little bit more, then press into your hands, lift your torso, and then bring yourself more forward over your shin. Only if you feel like you need it. I'm still feeling enough stretch being more over my knees, so that's where I will stay. We are in the last minute. Is there anywhere that you're holding on to tension that you can soften and relax a little bit more? It's always it's always okay to come out a little bit early if you need to. But the reason for these long holds is to work more with those connective tissues, like fascia, ligaments, and tendons, have less water content than our muscles. So they require these kind of long, steady holds. One more big breath here. And press into your hands to lift your torso. You can use your hands to help bring both of your legs out in front of you. Do that same thing again with the windshield wipering of the legs. So bring your feet wide to the edges of your mat, lean back on your hands or your forearms. Let your knees fall side to side. Hopefully things feel a little more even now. Now before our next pose, we will come back to a reset. So lie all the way down onto your back, and you can either take pentacle pose, which is to bring your arms and legs out straight and wide, or if your low back is feeling a little sensitive, you can bend your knees, plant your feet wide, let your knees fall into each other. The pose we were just in was a forward fold, so maybe your low back does feel a little bit sensitive after that. Nice couple of deep, full breaths. If you're not already, bend your knees. Hug your knees into your chest, take a little gentle rock side to side, a little massage for your low back. And then you could either roll to one side and press up, or hands behind your thighs, rock the length of your spine a few times, and come all the way up to seated. This next pose that we're going to do has two different parts, and it's really easiest to do with a yoga bolster, a long yoga bolster, if you have one. If you don't happen to have one, you'll want to use a couple of pillows here. Probably stack them up, have a couple on top of each other. So this pose will have two parts. We'll spend 2 minutes in sort of a really gentle twist, and then 2 minutes in a side stretch. So you can sit and I'll do the opposite side here just so I can face you. You'll bring your left hip as close to the bolster as you can. You can kind of pinwheel your legs, sort of like how we were in deer pose, and then turn your torso towards your bolster or pillows, stacked pillows, and then lower your torso straight over the bolster or pillows. And then rest your forehead down onto your hands. Relax your shoulders, You could also, what I'm doing here is making fists and stacking my hands one on the other to just give me a little more height to support underneath my head. And if this position of your legs doesn't feel good in your body, you could stack your knees as an alternative, or you could even have one leg straight back. Just play with what feels best in your body. Do want you to feel a gentle twist here, but nothing that feels uncomfortable or painful or pinchy in your low back. If the surface that you're on is hard, this might be another place where you use a blanket, maybe to put underneath your hip. If you're feeling like that's uncomfortable pressing into your mat. We're more than halfway through this first part, the twist part of this pose. To transition to the side stretch, you can now press into your hands to lift your torso enough so that now you just bring your side, so the side of your ribs here, onto your pillows or your bolster. You can rest your head on your bottom arm and then reach up and over with your opposite arm to get a nice stretch in your side body. And in this shape, you might want the bolster a little bit further away from your hip and more underneath your ribs. So you could always push it up a little bit higher. If this arm reaching up and overhead, if that hurts your shoulder or just doesn't feel good, or it just feels like too far to reach, you could bring a block underneath your hand. Or you could just rest your arm on your side. And you could also take breaks as we hold and rest your arm whenever you need to. Otherwise, if it feels okay in your shoulder and it's feeling like a really good stretch, you can reach that arm up, maybe fingertips for the floor or to rest on top. Breathe into your side body. Few more deep full breaths. And to come out, bring your top arm back down, and press into your hand and lift up. Now for you, you can just turn your body to do the other side. I want to still be able to face you, so I'm going to move my prop. But for you, you can just turn, bring your right hip up close to your bolster or your stack of pillows, position your legs in whatever way felt most comfortable for you. Maybe this pinwheel shape, maybe stack the knees, or maybe have one leg out straight. And then turn your torso towards your bolster and walk yourself forward so that you're in an easy twist here. We are going to do a deeper twist later, so this is to help prep us for that. And then you might stack your hands, or you might stack one fist on the other and rest your head down. You could also use a block or a pillow underneath your head if that's more comfortable. If you feel any pinching or discomfort in your low back, don't come as deeply into the twist. You could back out of the twist a little bit. You could use more props to support underneath you. Each part of this pose is 2 minutes. So we are halfway through this first part. For that transition into the side stretch, press into your hands to lift up enough that you can now lay on your side on your bolster or your stack of pillows. You might move it up a little bit so it's right underneath the side ribs there, and then rest your head down onto your arm, or you could use another pillow or a block. Reach your opposite arm up over your head, and you might rest your fingertips on either your mat or a block or another prop if you have something else that you could use. If any of those options are still feeling like too much, or if you're feeling any pain at all in your shoulder of this arm that's reaching, bring your arm down by your side. You're still getting benefit of the pose. You're still getting some stretch here for your side bodies, but just without any stress on your shoulder. If it feels okay on your shoulder, you can go ahead and reach that arm up. And again, maybe you rest your hand on something if your fingertips don't make their way all the way to the floor. Breathe into your side body. Feel that big stretch. And we stretch these muscles and the fascia that's around them that are along the ribs. Makes more space for us to have more space to breathe into, to really fill up the lungs. One more breath. Bring your arm back down by your side. You can then bring your hands to your mat, press into your hands to lift up. You can move your bolster out of your way and make your way back down onto your back for a reset. So we were just in a twist, so we want to bring the spine back to a nice neutral position, either in pentacle pose with your arms and your legs out straight and wide, or in constructive rest with your knees bent, your feet wide, knees to each other. So either pose. As our reset, take a few nice deep full breaths. bend your knees, have your knees into your chest, take a little rock side to side, massage your low back. And then you could either roll to one side or the other, or rock the length of your spine a few times to come up. Now this next pose is the one that you may or may not need a strap for to reach your foot. The other thing you want to have for this pose is either a block, a blanket, or a pillow, which you'll want to put on the left side of your mat. And then I'm actually going to just show you from the other side so that it can still be facing you, but I'll walk you through setting this up. You're going to lie all the way down onto your stomach with something over towards the left side of your mat, whether it's a pillow or a block. You might shift your body a little bit more to the left. Prop yourself up on your elbows and then bend your right knee and bring it out into like a half floor frog. So your knee is kind of out straight from your hip and then your ankle is underneath your knee. Prop yourself up on your left hand so that you're just kind of relaxed here on your mat. And then you'll bend your left knee. Reach back with your right hand to grab your foot. Now this is where you can use a strap if it's not easy to grab your foot. And then from here, lay back towards the left. So you might just use your arm underneath your head. You might use a block or a pillow, or some of you might find that you end up all the way down onto your back. Now, if you do make your way all the way down onto your back, you might find that your right knee maybe lifts away from the mat a little bit. If that happens and it doesn't hurt, it's fine. If it feels like your leg is holding on a lot, you could place a pillow or a block underneath your knee, only if you need it. Now you're in charge of how much stretch you are feeling in this pose and how much of a twist you're in. So you can use your hand to draw your heel in a little bit closer to you if you want more of a quad stretch. You can also think about pointing your knee straight back towards the back of your mat. How far you come back determines how much of a twist you're getting in your spine. So again, you could be resting your head on your arm or a block or a pillow if it feels like too far to come all the way down onto your back. And to be honest, I rarely make my way all the way to my back. I usually am using something to support underneath me. So I love this pose because you're getting a few different things happening that you're benefiting from. So you're getting this stretch for the front of your thigh, of the knee that you're, of your leg that you're holding onto with your hand. You also might be getting a stretch in your inner leg and maybe even your IT band of your leg that's in that half floor frog. And then you're also getting a twist for your spine. So lots of great things happening in this pose to benefit you. If you do happen to do this sequence after going for a hike, it should feel pretty good to stretch out those areas that you worked during your hike. But of course, you don't have to have done a hike to get all of these benefits. If at any point in this hold your arm gets tired of holding onto your foot, you can always switch to using a strap or even let go for a little bit to rest a bit. If you are still holding onto your foot and you want to just try something a little different, you could even try kicking your foot into your hand a little bit. That might stretch the front of your shoulder or just give you a different stretch for the top of your thigh, the front of your thigh. And then to release from this pose, you'll release your foot first, relax that leg back down. Roll yourself back towards your stomach, lift up your right knee and bring it back, and then come back to Sphinx pose. So you come back to elbows underneath your shoulders. Now you'll move, if you did lean back on something, you'll move that to the opposite side of your mat. I'm just going to flip around so I can still be facing you. You might shift your body a little bit more towards the right side of your mat, just so that when you bring your left knee into that floor, half floor frog, that your knee is still supported on your mat, it's not on the floor. Knee straight out from your hip, and then rest your head in your right hand. Reach back with your left hand for your right foot, and then you might start to lay back onto your back, onto your arm, or head on your arm rather, or you might have something else underneath your head. Just depending on how far back you can make it in your body in a way that feels like you're getting benefit from the pose, but you're not in any pain at all. And again, if you come all the way down onto your back, or even if you don't, if that knee that's in the half floor frog lifts away from the mat at all, as long as it doesn't hurt, it's okay. If you would like to support underneath that knee, you might bring a pillow or a blanket or even a block underneath to support. If you can't quite reach your foot, with your hand, you could always use a strap around your foot as an alternative. If at any point in this pose you're feeling like you want a little more stretch, you can use your hand to draw your heel in a little bit closer to you. The other alternative you can shift to at any point in this pose is to maybe kick your foot a little bit into your hand and see if that strength changes the stretch for you at all. It also might give you a little stretch on the front of your shoulder, that option. If your arm gets tired at any point, you can switch to a strap or even just take a break of that part of the pose. You're still getting all the other benefits of this pose. You might be feeling a stretch in your outer upper leg, so in that IT band area of your leg that's in half floor frog. You might also feel a stretch in your inner leg. And you're still getting a twist here for your spine. And if you're able to keep holding onto your foot, you're getting that stretch for the front of your thigh. Keep an eye on the time for us here. We are more than halfway. You always shift and change your position as you're holding in the pose if you need something a little bit different. Otherwise, just find some stillness. You might close your eyes, deepen your breath. minute. Now, the first thing you'll do is let go of your foot, straighten that leg back out, and simultaneously, as you start to roll yourself back onto your stomach, you can lift up your left knee and send that back, and then come all the way forward onto your stomach on your mat. Stack one hand on top of the other, forehead down onto your hands, and let your legs relax. A few nice deep full breaths. Avoid any sudden movements. And bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Press yourself all the way up to seated and face towards the long edge of your mat. So our last stretch here before Shavasana is dragonfly pose to stretch the backs of the legs and the inner legs. So when you come to seated, facing the long edge of your mat, bring your legs out into a wide V. And depending on how things are feeling for you, you might not bring your legs as wide. Or you could also find a little bend in your knees if you're feeling any discomfort behind your knees. Bring your hands by your hips to sit up nice and tall, and make sure your pelvis is in a neutral position. If it feels like it's rolling back and it's causing you to round forward, you could either fold the edge of your mat over, or this is another great place for a folded blanket to bring your sit bones right onto the edge of the blanket. Bring your hands now between your legs, sit up tall, and start to walk yourself forward until you feel a stretch in your inner legs and the backs of your legs. This is another great place to use blocks if you would like them, either underneath your forearms, or you could stack them up and rest your forehead on them. Whatever makes you feel most relaxed and able to soften your shoulders and relax your head. We're all different in how far forward we are able to come in this pose. And it might not be about flexibility, it might be about compression. You might find that you have tissue bumping into tissue or tissue bumping into bone, and it limits your range of motion. That's okay. Just honor where you're at and don't worry about how the pose is supposed to look. It looks exactly the way it's supposed to look in your body, for your body. So, if you're folded more flat on the floor, or if you're more lifted, you're still getting benefit from the pose. There's no right or wrong. Just let your head be relaxed. If you're not resting your head on anything, and at any point in this pose, it feels uncomfortable in your neck, lift your head, gently rock your head a little bit side to side to help your neck muscles relax and let go. Really small movements, and then rest your head back down. Where can you relax and soften a little bit more? One more minute here. Then take them out of this pose. Use your hands to help walk yourself back up. And then hands behind your knees. Bend one knee at a time. Bring your legs towards each other. Turn back on your mat and lie all the way down onto your back. And we are moving into our final pose, which is Shavasana. However, we were just in a forward fold, so if you lie down with your legs out straight and it doesn't feel comfortable for your low back, bend your knees, plant your feet wide to the edges of your mat and let your knees fall to each other for constructive rest. And you can stay here as long as you need. And then when you are ready to move into Shavasana, you can just straighten your legs out. If you do happen to have one of these yoga bolsters, one thing that might feel nice for you in your Shavasana is to bring that underneath your knees. You could also bring a blanket over your body or underneath your head, anything that allows you to feel nice and comfortable. Flip your palms up, arms down by your sides, tuck your shoulder blades underneath you. You might even shift your hips down a little bit to lengthen your spine. And then just let everything relax into your mat. Let your heels be heavy, hips heavy, shoulders and your head all just relax. I'll be quiet here for a few moments to give you time to enjoy some stillness and silence, and then I will walk you out of the pose when it's time. Never want anyone to feel rushed out of Shavasana. So if you would like more time here, take the time that you need. If you're ready to move on with your day, you can start to wiggle your fingers, your toes, roll your ankles and your wrists. Take a nice big full body stretch, reach your arms up overhead, let your back arch up off the mat. And then bend your knees. You could either roll to one side or the other, or you could roll straight up to seated. If you roll onto your side, use your bottom arm as a pillow for a moment. And then as you feel ready, you press into your free hand to make your way up through to seated. We'll close our practice, as I usually do with my classes, with a breath together. So sit however feels comfortable for you. that allows you to be nice and tall in your spine. Take a moment to bring your palms together, bring your thumbs into your heart, bow your head to your heart to unite the two. Take a moment in gratitude to yourself for taking the time for yoga today. Notice how your body feels. Then exhale all of your breath. On your inhale, you might bring your thumbs to your third eye, that space between your eyebrows. And as you exhale, bow to yourself in gratitude. And thank you so much for joining me for this practice. I hope this yin practice made your body feel recovered and rejuvenated, and I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.